Welcome to the Banyan Edge Podcast. Here's your host, Charles Sizemore.
Welcome. I'm your host, Charles Sizemore, and today we are going overseas. This is an interesting time to be an investor. The United States has, of course, always been the world. Well, I can't say always, but for anyone alive today's lifetime, the United States has always been the premier investment destination. This is where people put their capital and they want it to be safe. Now, it seems a little less safe these days when our government can't decide whether or not it wants to pay the bills. So I would say the case for international diversification is probably stronger today than it has ever been in our lifetimes. Now, about that, most of my wealth is in, the stock market or stock-related investment strategies. Is what I do for a living. It's what I write about. It's what I live and breathe. But I have a large chunk in real estate as well. In fact, if you look at the total market value of the real estate, including the value of the mortgages and whatnot, my real estate holdings actually get pretty close to my stock market holdings. It's a good chunk, and not all of that is in the U.S. A lot of that is actually overseas. So to help me unpack all of this and to make sense of it all, I have brought in the international man of mystery himself, the brains behind Real Estate Trend Alert, Rita, Mr. Ronan McMahon. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Charles, and a pleasure to be with you as always.
Now, whenever I talk to you, the first question that I always have to ask, because it's always quite relevant, where are you at the moment?
I'm in Cork, Ireland, which is my hometown. So I'm back for my summer holidays. The Irish May sunshine is streaming into my room. It's absolutely heavenly.
Yeah, I've always imagined you more of this just gypsy that just sort of goes from place to place, just kind of, jet setting the world. The idea that you actually have a semi-permanent home is almost disappointing. I just like to see you as this buccaneer out there on the high seas, just looking for your next big deal. But I'm kind of joking, not really joking.
Yeah. Well, I buccaneer between multiple homes, but Charles, I'm at this now nearly 2 decades, so I need to have my own beds. So kind of Portugal is my primary home. That's my primary home. Ireland is for vacations. I spend a lot of time in a condo I have in Cabo San Lucas in Mexico, also a home I have on the Caribbean side of Mexico. And some of these homes I rent when I'm not using. So for example, my home in Portugal, I rent it for the peak summer months because I like to be here in Ireland, and it covers the mortgage, covers my golf club dues, covers all the holding costs. And then in Cabo, when I'm over this side of the world, I rent my Cabo home. That generates a strong income. So there's a lot of buccaneering in between, but I must admit I need my own bed now for periods in between.
I understand that. I'm not getting any younger myself, and it is nice to have a bed that knows your back, that actually knows your spine and, conforms to it. But I was talking to your team, and I was trying to track you down, and they said you were at that moment, I believe, in the middle of, you were somewhere en route between Portugal and Ireland. You actually drove? Like, what did that look like?
I did. I drove from my home that's just north of Lisbon to right here to Cork, Ireland. So that was, Charles, it was a fabulous adventure. Like so many of us now who travel a lot, airports are airports can be heavy going. It's only a 2-hour flight from Lisbon to Dublin, but I had to get through Lisbon Airport, and then I had to arrive in Dublin Airport, and then I'd need to figure out renting a car, and then I'd have to deal with this. And I said, why not, instead of having a half day of extreme unpleasantness, spread the trip out into 4 or 5 days of adventure? So day one, I drove from Lisbon to Salamanca in Spain.
Lovely town, I might add.
Lovely 4-hour drive. Then had a full 24 hours in Salamanca for sightseeing. drove on another 4 hours to Bilbao, then had a fabulous evening in Bilbao, then got on the ferry, which is a 29-hour ferry from Bilbao to Rosslare in the southeast of Ireland. And that was just unbelievably pleasant. You know, it was my wife and I, we got on, we had entrance to a beautiful lounge at the front of the ferry. We put our feet up, we ate for many hours, then we went to bed, had a great sleep, got up again and ate for many hours, and just drove off the ferry in our own car and drove home with the trunk full of all our stuff. So I'm doing it again to go back, to bring the car back in a couple of months, and I'm looking forward to that. But I think it's going to become part of my routine now, because you know, just slow travel is you know, I love it. You know, I love travel as it used to be. And I think with ferries and trains, we can get that back. And like you know, I mean, my office is wherever I am once I've got a decent internet connection. So that time on the ferry isn't lost time. You know, it's time I can use to re-energize work, etc. So I'm delighted with the adventure so far.
Sounds like it. I do have one relevant question. Ireland, it drives on the UK side of the road, right?
Yeah. So that is tricky. So now,
so what side is your steering wheel on in the car that you have?
It's on the wrong side, Charles. Whatever. I need to look out and check. But there's so it is a new trick. So you know, generally, in Ireland, we drive on the left-hand side of the road with the steering wheel on the right. In Mexico and Portugal, it's the same as the US. So, you know, I've grown accustomed to being comfortable in Ireland and being comfortable in Mexico and being comfortable in Portugal. Now I have a new trick which is to get comfortable with my Portuguese car on the Irish roads. But it's fine, you know, just again, it's just the same thing, you know, you just need to line yourself up towards a point and just forget about the amount of car that's to your right.
I have a hard enough time learning how to use a Mac after using a PC. So the idea of driving with the steering wheel on the other side of the car, that would really be an adjustment for me. But at any rate, you are a man that loves his adventures. One point that I heard you make earlier, and I thought it would be good for the show to bring it up. You'd mentioned that we live in an age of scarcity, but yet when I see the way you live, the way you invest, there doesn't seem to be much scarce about this. You seem to be kind of living in this land of opportunity. But tell us what you mean by that.
Yeah. So and both, you know, both are true, the scarcity and the opportunity, because, you know, the scarcity that I'm going to speak to, you know, in large part drives the opportunity, because it's driving up the value of the real estate we buy. It's driving up the real estate that we rent. But first of all, to speak to the opportunity side of the equation, you know, we are in a world where a small number of truly beautiful, aesthetically beautiful, welcoming places are attracting folks from right across the globe. These are retirees. These are folks looking to set up a business. These are remote workers. So we're in an age where people are flooding into places like Panama City, Playa del Carmen in Mexico, Lagos in Portugal, Cabo San Lucas. So people are flooding into these places, embracing opportunity, you know, embracing what essentially is that quintessential American dream from the 1950s. You know, this is happening, and this is happening now. And our opportunity is to front run those people and buy the real estate that they're going to want to rent, the real estate that they're going to ultimately want to buy. What we do with Rita, which is my my newsletter and my group is we effectively pool together our group buying power. So I can go to a developer and say, hey, give me a price for 100 of these condos rather than each individually negotiating a price. So that's the cream at the tail end. But fundamentally,
but that's really an important point, because if I were to go to a country where I have no contacts and I have no experience and I just wanted to buy something on my own, I wouldn't have a clue where to start. I wouldn't know, who to talk to. I would have no good way to judge if I was getting a good price, because I don't know. I don't have contacts there. So when you go in and you negotiate basically a bulk price, that's a huge deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we scour the globe, me along with my team. We identify places where these trends are happening, which is basically where people are flooding in because it's beautiful, because they're more welcome, because the taxes are lower, just all these things that can make places more appealing. And then we identify what's the best way to profit from this situation. Is it buy raw land? Is it to buy condos pre-construction? Is it to buy finished inventory? And then we make a deal with whoever controls that inventory, and then also introduce all our members to the lawyer that I use, choice of rental managers, et cetera, et cetera. So, it's essentially, it starts at a kind of a macro big idea, but we drill right down to the specifics of the deal, because ultimately real estate is everything. Real estate isn't just macro, and real estate certainly isn't just micro. For real estate, and in particular, when you make the step to investing out of state or out of country, you want the whole package to be there. And that's what I've been doing along with my team since I founded Real Estate Trend Alert in 2008.
Yeah, that's and from the sounds of things, it's you have it refined to the point where it's essentially a turnkey solution, which I think that's probably the single most attractive aspect. Is it's you're not having to the reader, the investor isn't having to reinvent the wheel. So that's huge.
Yeah.
Now, what in your globe spanning here, your globe trotting here, what do you like today? Like what are you working on today that's attractive?
Yeah, so in terms of today, there's, RETA members just last week got in on our newest deal in the Coruscant community, which is right on the edge of Playa del Carmen on Mexico's Caribbean coast. So just to orient everyone, Playa del Carmen is about 50 minutes from Cancun International Airport. It's a vibrant beach city just right on those pristine white sands. It's just got an incredible array of nightlife, of restaurants, of art galleries, boutiques. It's started to become more and more high-end in recent years. So it's attracted tourists for a long time. And since COVID, it's attracted a lot more year-round livers, just making it their home as a beach city. Nestled right next to Playa del Carmen downtown and right at the end of Fifth Avenue. And Playa del Carmen's Fifth Avenue is the pedestrian street that runs right through town, is this master planned community called Coruscant. It's got what I believe to be the most perfect and the best curve of beach in all of Playa del Carmen, just beautiful white sands. It's got a world-class golf course. It's very uncluttered. You've got a real sense of space. And just there last week, RETA members were able to buy 2-bed, 2-bath condos from about $250,000. And
I will point out, you're saying this is the best stretch of beachfront that you've seen in the Riviera Maya in the Mexican Caribbean. It's a bold statement because I don't think I've seen any stretch of beach in that part of Mexico that isn't nice. So this is this is the best of the best.
It's the best. I said of Playa del Carmen. So, whether the best of Playa del Carmen is going to fight it out with the best of Tulum, who wins there, I don't know. But in terms of the beach at Playa del Carmen, it's got this amazing curve. So you've got palm trees on both ends. It feels like a desert island. You're on the edge of a beach city. It's wide. It feels completely private. So it really is saying a lot. And they're condos right on the beach there from the Carousel developer, same overall level of projects and community. Their beachfront condos are $2 to $4.5 million. Their homes, again, golf fronting homes list $1.5 to $4 million. We were able to make this deal with the developer because they're looking to build community. They're looking to target a market which they otherwise don't have access to. They're looking for critical mass in the community to help make all the restaurants and all the infrastructure and all that work. And ultimately, they can do it because they bought the entire master planned resort out of bankruptcy. It was a Spanish group were originally developing it. That stalled after the 2009 crisis. They went into bankruptcy in Spain, then went into Spain's bad bank. It was just this awful decade-long drawn-out process, which means the Carousel was almost preserved in time, say, unlike its neighbor Mayacoba, which has been very heavily developed. So there's another angle here, is that part of our opportunity was created by the 2008 and 2009 crisis and the failure of that Spanish group. And the new owners are a major Mexican conglomerate. They own one of Mexico's major banks, which means they're willing to give RITA members 10-year finance. They own media.
It's never a bad thing when one of your key partners owns a bank. That's a useful partner to have.
Exactly. The developer owns the bank, and the land, is basically for free. It's long since paid for. So these are the types of situations that can that create opportunity. When we've got the big macro story, Playa del Carmen's on the up, it's incredibly attractive. Next door, you have this amazingly verdant and just, it just feels so empty, I mean, the golf course, each hole feels like its own distinct entity, very, very uncluttered, which is very unusual for a beach and golf community, let alone so close to a city like this, let alone for a price from $250,000. So these are the types of deals that, they create opportunity for us for capital appreciation, because, I figure these condos, before too long, maybe 3 to 5 years after delivery, will be worth $400,000 plus easily. They can rent short term, they can rent long term. You can integrate them into your lifestyle. I bought one of the 3-bed condos there, and it's a place where I plan to spend some time every year. And then when I'm not using it, I'll rent it short term in the peak season, and then get a 6-month tenant for the less peak season. But the thing about Playa del Carmen today, and this was in my report for RITA members, this is one of the things that I highlighted. More and more you see these press reports, no low season anymore. These are destinations now that are holding year-round appeal. So that's a place, in terms of the legs of the stool, a place where there's a macro story, where the resort and the developer is strong, and where our deal is strong. And that's the trifecta that I'm looking for.
Curiosity, just kind of back of the envelope, what do the rental yields look like?
So rental yields long term will look in the region of kind of 12 to 14% gross, and short term, maybe 14 to 16. So really, really strong. So to give you another example, like a personal example, my condo in Cabo San Lucas, I bought that as part of a RETA members only deal, took possession in 2019, I guess. The RETA members price was $336,000. The identical condo a floor above me, recently listed for $725,000. And the condo that I bought along with RETA members for the low 300s rents long-term now for $3,000 per month. So one of the huge changes in my world, again, since COVID, is what I call the rise of the long-term renter. So before COVID, my investments, my beat was primarily focused on short-term renting. The way the world has changed since then has just flipped that, and long-term renting is now really, really compelling. Folks who bought condos in Playa del Carmen and took possession of them probably 18 months ago, they're renting for $2,500 per month, so grossing $30,000 a year on condos that cost less than $200,000, and that's long-term renting. So this is
those kind of yields. Really, you're very unlikely to find something like that in the U.S. I like these kind of yields. They don't exist in the developed world. Not like this.
They don't exist unless you can be some kind of slum landlord and you have to deal with like terrible real estate and terrible tenants. So the thing now with this is you can buy in, let's say, just to use Cabo as another example, and you can buy for $300,000. And you can you can rent to the same people as if you were a landlord in San Francisco or Austin or somewhere. So you're renting to the same people, you're charging them close to as much rent, but instead of paying $1.2 million for the piece of real estate, you're buying it for $300,000.
Yeah.
Plus your holding costs are an absolute fraction of what they're in the States.
Taxes, maintenance, all the stuff the stuff that really eats into your returns as a domestic real estate investor. Property taxes are really expensive in most of the U.S. Maintenance is expensive because labor is expensive, et cetera. That's really not an issue with these kind of properties.
Yeah, and your insurance. I get asked all the time, and I've had to start tracking this because it became embarrassing. Charles, people would say, what are your taxes on that property? And I'm there like, I haven't a clue. I just don't know, because it's just not relevant. Maybe it's $183 a year, or maybe it's $250. It's just immaterial. And that's so you look at total holding costs. And again, to give another example, a condo, my home in Portugal, it's right on the beach. It's just an amazing stretch of beach called Praia del Rei, the beach of the king, on a golf course north of Lisbon. Absolutely fabulous. And there, my entire holding, so my entire cost of ownership including my mortgage, are less than what my property taxes would be on an equivalent property in California. It's mind-blowing when you just look at them side by side, because, you know, the condo on the beach in Portugal that, say, you could buy for 400 grand, you know, maybe that's 1.5 million in California. The tax in Portugal, the HOAs, they're all just tiny. And then, you know, your taxes figured in California, obviously, off this huge valuation. So it's, you know, I'm not pursuing this beat. I haven't made this beat my life's work, you know, because of the push factors pushing people out of the US. It's been very much opportunity focused. But in the last couple of years, you know, I know a lot of my readers are, you know, just feeling this big wake up call. You know, this just doesn't make sense. I need to at least take a portion of my real estate portfolio and have it in the path of progress, have it in a place where it's positioned for opportunity.
Yeah, and that's the investment angle. There's also just the enjoyment angle. It's these look like lovely places to visit. You know, who wouldn't want to spend weeks or months out of the year somewhere like this? So I'm looking out my window right now. I'm in Lima, Peru at the moment. It's fun. It's nice to live here, but the skies are gray and they're not going to be blue again for about 6 months. So I think you're doing it right. I think I might be doing it wrong.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's become, you know, one of the most important things for me in my life has to become to live in a place where I get lots of sunshine, lots of light, almost never any heating or cooling. And it just changes it changes my energy levels, it changes my outlook, it changes everything for me. And I didn't realize this for the longest time. You know, I mean, I grew up in Ireland, dreary weather. I grew up with mild asthma, so, you know, allergies get
Yeah,
at
I'm
me.
sure the fog didn't help that. The humid air.
No, and it was only when I moved, you know, to other places where I could get bright sunshine and low humidity that I said, geez, you know, this is what I should feel like all the time. There's no reason to be suffering because of damp, cold air. So it's, you know, I find, I mean, I love Ireland. I love coming back here for the summers, but I couldn't see myself facing another winter here.
I understand completely. Well, Ronan, we are running out of time here, but where can our viewers find out more about you and your firm?
Great stuff. So Real Estate Trend Alert, there, you know, there's blurbs about my books. It'll tell you how you can join Rita, and yeah, that's the best place to start. From there, you can follow me on LinkedIn and on Instagram, and I'd love for as many of you to join us for a trial subscription and see where in the world it takes us.
Well, very good. We'll put a link to that below. I do recommend that everybody check this out. This is information you are not likely to get elsewhere. This is a true alternative investment. This is completely outside of the norm. And from what he explained to us in detail here, the potential returns really are very attractive. Even as a long-term hold, if you never sell it, just collecting those rental yields, those are very, very attractive yields. So Ronan, thanks for joining us. I'd love to have you on again sometime.
Lovely. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Charles.
And to our viewers, I hope you got a lot of value out of this. Again, you can find Ronan at the link below. And I do encourage you to look for diversification right now. This is a market that's, shall we say, complex, and it's nice to have different options on the table. So with that, we will be back next week. And until then, go out and make yourself some money.